How's it going, guys and girls? Welcome back to my channel. Today just popping in for a quick review of the Dr. Manhattan Ozymandias Doomsday Clock action figure 2-pack from DC Collectibles. Are these action figures well crafted, reasonably articulated, high quality posable representations of some of comicdom's most well-known characters? Or are they nothing more than sloppily painted, loose jointed trash made with little to no care for the assembly, posability, and quality control? And furthermore, how do they fare in comparison to the initially released promo images? Well, you'll have to watch the rest of the review to find out. Right away you'll notice that these action figures use the exact same buck as the regular DC Essentials action figures. Clearly they've been designed to go right up alongside the DC Essentials figures, which makes sense because these guys are now actually part of the DC universe. Kind of, sort of, we'll see. The front of this packaging has that nice big open window box in the front, and it has some very cool basic design motifs going on all around the front there with the basic yellow, black, and then the white. You got Doomsday Clock here right up on the top. Then you got on the back of the package other figures you can get from other waves. Wave 1, Wave 2, Wave 3. The side of the box has that Doomsday Clock logo, and the bottom has stuff that ain't nobody cares about. So, cool. Let's open it. Remember always to use the utmost in care while handling sharp implements. Nobody likes to get cut. Oh, there's still tape. Open, you sesame! Ugh. Looks like this one's not staying mint on card. You're evicted! You too. You might be all powerful, but not in my studio. Get out. And there we have it. The Dokanose! Now for starters, I will say this. They're bright and they're colorful and they really look like they've just jumped out of the comic book. So I'm gonna give them that right out of the gate. That much I do like about these. Now, while Dr. Manhattan, as you'll see, uses absolutely no new parts other than the head, Ozymandias has a whole slew of new tooling to go along with him. And it's actually a really nice change in comparison to the almost no new tooling we saw with the DC Essentials. But let's start with Dr. Manhattan first. So, as mentioned before, this Dr. Manhattan figure has absolutely no new tooling aside from the head, and I think maybe the feet are new tools as well. But other than that, they didn't have to do anything because Dr. Manhattan is just a big naked blue guy. Well, that's not entirely true. He is wearing his black superhero Speedo, but there is absolutely no sculpting detail to that whatsoever. It's just black paint over blue paint. Heck, there's even times when it's a dead giveaway that this is supposed to be a clothed buck. When you look at the belly button and abs, you can clearly see that there's been fabric that's been stretched out over them, as if it's the Flash's skin-tight thermoprotective running suit. Also, you'll notice that Dr. Manhattan, whether it's his head or his body, does suffer from some sloppy paint. Whoever was in charge of painting the black outside undies that day, I think they had too many beers the night before and came in with a hangover because that's a little bit of a mess. However, the head sculpt for Dr. Manhattan looks spot on. I think it is the very best comic book action figure representation of Dr. Manhattan as far as the face goes that we've ever gotten. Now this here Club Freighter Dr. Manhattan action figure is the only other Dr. Manhattan that I have to compare him to. And as much as I do love the DC Universe Classic style Dr. Manhattan, I do have to say that the Essential style Doomsday Clock Dr. Manhattan is actually my favorite now. I feel like the Doomsday Clock figure gets the facial features right better than the Mattel version. And next we have Ozymandias. And right off the bat, I do want to say I really wish that we could have Ozymandias and then Bubastis standing right here. It would have made sense for that to be an accessory that came in the 2-pack with Ozymandias because he loved himself a good kitty, yes he did. And that would be a little bit of a qualm, that there are absolutely no accessories whatsoever with this 2-pack. Like none. I can't see any. Can you see any accessories? I don't see, none fell out of the package. There is absolutely no accessories whatsoever. Now, while the Dr. Manhattan figure actually really does kind of look like the prototype promotional figure they showed us, the Ozymandias figure is quite different in at least one way. Can you see the difference? That's right, no masked face sculpt, just the unmasked. And you know what? It would have made sense to just give us the other head as a pack-in. All things aside, I really, really like the royal color scheme of Ozymandias. I think they nailed it with the colors. That gold looks absolutely fabulous, and so does that royal purple. And he's going to look fantastic on the shelf with the rest of the figures in this scale, DC Essentials and Doomsday Clock. And they managed to pull off Ozymandias' look without making him look like a complete and total football player. So, cheers to them for actually making that work. The paint on this figure is actually pretty good all around. I don't see a lot of paint slop. This figure is also made on the exact same buck as the rest of the males. Now, Ozymandias actually has the exact same buck as the rest of the DC Essentials underneath that tunic. They've just put the tunic over top of that body. And it works. It makes him look like a completely different figure, and it actually balances out the scale. A lot of people think the arms are too big on these figures, and I can totally see that. There's times when they do seem kind of long, but can we just now talk about the elephant in the room? And that's that some of these DC Essentials don't want to stand. They just fall over every chance they get. And when they fall over, they get the dreaded scratch on the tip of their nose. But okay, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. Let's just talk about the head sculpt for a while, shall we? Not gonna lie, looks kind of fugly. I mean, the sculpt is fine, and the execution of the paint on the hair, the headband, and the skin tone itself looks okay. It's just when we get to the eyes, things look weird. I remember feeling this way when I looked at the Constantine figure from the New 52 line, thinking, what happened to the eyes? They just look big and weird. I mean, I'm sorry. As far as the face goes, I'm just not feeling it with this one. Now, I brought in the only other Ozymandias I have from the same line as the previous Dr. Manhattan, the Club Black Freighter Ozymandias. You can see that they're definitely much different in size and scale, although this one's a little bit wider than the one that's bigger and taller in scale. That's because this one suffers from giant football pads problem. However, I do like this head sculpt better than that one. That said, this one is still the reigning champ as far as I'm concerned. I think that overall, this is a much, much better overall version of the comic book accurate Ozymandias. And now we get into articulation. The Doc and Ozzy both have hinged ball pegs, so there's lots of rotation up and down and all around. They have hinge swivels in their shoulders. They've got bicep swivels, double jointed elbows, and ball hinges in their wrist. They've both got an ab crunch, although Ozymandias' ab crunch is kinda rendered useless by the thick rubber purple tunic. They can both tornado rotate 360 degrees at the waist, and they both have non-drop hinge ball joints in the groin. They've got a thigh cut at the top of the leg, double jointed knees, another cut below the knees, and they both have their feet on ankle pivot ball hinges. So there's a lot of articulation, as you can see, only some of those articulation points, ankles, can be a little bit weak as we've previously mentioned, so you might want to grab yourself one of those arm grabby action figure stands to get him in some of those other poses, because the balance for some of these figures, Ozymandias, is kinda in the toilet. So, I don't know. It's just my own little kind of qualm with these figures. I love them. I hope they make a whole lot more of them. I realize they're probably not going to change the articulation of the ankles and stuff like that. So it just is what it is. It's just a little pet peeve of mine that I felt like voicing. So now that we've briefly gone over pretty much everything you can as far as these action figures go, the articulation, the sculpt, the paint apps, the comparative likeness to their comic book counterparts, as well as to the originally shown promotional material, the question now remains, as someone who's purchased these with his own money, could I recommend them to you as Watchmen fans and DC Comics fans? The answer is yes. 8 out of 10 would buy again. Although in some places the paint can be just a little bit sloppy, and it is a bit of a letdown that we didn't get the other Ozymandias head with the mask, we did see a considerable amount of new sculpting detail for Ozymandias, and the color schemes for these figures look pretty much spot on. I was impressed with how much these actually give me them Watchmen feels, so yeah, I would recommend that you buy these if you're a DC Comics fan or a Watchmen fan. But as always, these are just my observations, and I'm just one guy. So leave yours down in the comments section below what you think about these figures. Also, if you found this video entertaining, enlightening, or even a useful waste of time at all, please take the time to leave a like on the video, because that way I knew I'm doing something right for you. And finally, if you think you'd like to become a super friend and join the DC squad, just hit the subscribe button. Remember to ding the notification bell, because the subscribe button apparently does nothing these days. And I'll see you with the next one. Have an awesome day, super friends. Take care.